will get started. Or on Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. This is the meeting on the Council of Family Resource Centers meeting. Let's start with roll call. Rochelle, is that you?
Rochelle's muted.
I'm trying to unmute myself. Okay, let me pull up so I don't miss anybody. Okay, Nita is not present. Brenda Costello.
Present.
Susan Sievert.
Present.
Sherry Elcano.
Present, and congrats, Susan.
Thank you.
Yes. Scott Benton.
Here.
And who am I missing on my list since they're not in front of me?
Vanessa and Christelle.
Vanessa and
Oh,
Christelle.
Christelle Avalos is not present, and Vanessa Van Court is not present for the record.
Thank you, Rochelle. Item 1.03 is public comments. I will read this statement as public comment looks different. Comments from the public are invited at this time on topics not specifically addressed elsewhere on the agenda. Due to the current state of emergency declared by our governor, members of the public wishing to make public comment to the Council on Family Resource Centers must submit their comments via email to cfrcommittee@washoeschools.net. Any public comments received will be forwarded to the Council on Family Resource Centers for its consideration, consistent with the emergency provisions noted above. With that, we'll move on to item 1.04, which is an action item to adopt our agenda. If there's anyone willing to make a motion.
I'll motion that.
Thank you, Cheryl. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Susan.
Susan.
With that, we have a motion.
Susan for the record.
Thank you so much. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 2.01 is approval of the minutes of October 21st, 2020 meeting of the Council on Family Resource Centers. And this is our action item. If we have any questions, we can certainly discuss them. If not, I will take a motion. And please let the record show that Vanessa arrived at 6:07. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Scott, I'll move to approve the minutes. This is Susan
Thank
for the
you,
record.
Thank you so much,
Go ahead.
Susan. I appreciate that.
And I'll second that, Sherry, for the record.
Thank you, Sherry. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 2.02, I'm going to put somebody on the spot. This is a recognition of one of our committee members, Susan Seifert, for her recipient of the Human Services Agency Impact Award. I'm going to toss the ball over to Brenda since she beautifully introduced her during the awards breakfast last week. I think Brenda can give us some history on not only the award, but on Susan, as I believe Brenda has worked the closest with her on our committee. Brenda, the floor is yours. But you have to unmute yourself.
So I think most of you are probably familiar with the Human Services Network. We've been more or less part of it for years, but I should have probably done this last year, actually, when Desert Skies opened, but it didn't occur to me. I think actually Rochelle placed the bug in my ear. So don't blame me all, Susan. It can be Rochelle's fault too. So, the end of my little introduction basically sums it up, and then I'll let Susan say a few words if she wants to. But Susan has worked tirelessly for our community, as evidenced by the fact that it's 6 o'clock on a January inauguration night, and she's here with us. So Susan came into the Sun Valley Family Resource Center at Desert Skies after it was built, and looking out over the valley said, my community deserves this. So, and that's the kind of person that she is. And we just wanted to recognize that. Those breakfasts are so much more fun in person, but I know that that would have been another kind of awkward with us there. So you did get to dodge that bullet, Susan. We didn't have to go up there and stage. So you're welcome for that. But I really would have loved to have all those people praise you in person. So thank you so much for everything you do. It's a really cool award.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Again, I don't do it all alone. I have a lot of people who have always supported me in what we've done. And so I was very, very honored to receive such an award. And thank you too, Rochelle.
It's well deserved, Susan. It's been a pleasure. I haven't been able to work with you as long as Brenda, but from the moment I've met you, it's been a pleasure. And I'm so glad you got that recognition. It's so well deserved. So thank you.
Again, thank you. Thank you.
So, and this year, Sheila Leslie actually received the Michael Callahan Humanitarian of the Year Award. So it was a special something for the Family Resource Centers to have two people, but we are so closely aligned with receiving awards. And our years past, our kind of department director received the Michael Callahan Award as well. So the Family Resource Centers have been recognized through the HSN before. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to open the floor up to comments from any of the other committee members. But first, I want to say, Susan, I haven't worked with you nearly as long as Rochelle or Brenda, but my first meeting when I applied for the Family Resource Centers Committee, I remember you very openly accepting me into the meeting, and then, believe it or not, you've guided me into some of the things that I've done. Knowing the hard work that you put into what you think is a community, it's really bigger than just a community. Your work goes far and wide, not only with the school district, but the work that I see you do outside of your position at the GID. I just want you to know that as an outside community member, I appreciate the diligent work that you do for not only children, but for the community at large.
Thank you, Scott.
Vanessa or Sherry, do you have anything you would like to add?
This is Sherry Alcano for the record. I kind of echo Scott's comments, and my only real association with you, Susan, is through the Family Resource Center community, our committee that we're on. And I talk about you all the time to people, by the way. I'm floored, honestly, by the whole Family Resource Center, all of you, and am humbled by the amount of effort and heart that you put into your work and what you accomplish. And I think all of you deserve this award, but Susan, definitely. And you're so humble, and you do what you do. It's clear because it's your heart and you don't need any reason to do it. And that's why you are such a beacon and such a light and lamppost to that whole kind of conversation. Yeah, so thanks for being who you are. And yeah, I love sharing the story of you and the whole FRC, by the way.
Thanks, Sherry.
All right, Vanessa, do you have anything to add?
Thanks, Heather. It was really moving to hear, Brenda, your introduction during the awards ceremony, and I learned a lot more about your impact in the community, Susan. So congratulations. It is so well deserved, and I know that you don't do it for the recognition, but it is so evident that you have touched the lives of so many people, and that's quite a legacy.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So congratulations, Susan, and thank you for all that you do, not only for us, but for the Sun Valley community. It's really, I think what Vanessa said was really head on. You don't do it for the recognition, by all means. So let's move on to item 2.03, which is a presentation and discussion of the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on Family Resource Center clients and services, including Federal Emergency Management Agency Resilience Ambassadors and the University of Nevada School of Social Work interns. This is for information and discussion. And I think I get to pass it over to Rochelle again.
Okay, I want to first ask, does Brenda, Wiley, or Lisa have anything before I start to talk? Okay, I see none. Okay, so as a result of the pandemic, we have been fortunate enough to get some funding for some different things to help us to respond to the needs that we have in our community and for the folks coming into our centers. And so you all have heard when we met last about all the good work that Brenda and Lisa and Wiley have done. We did apply and we're part of the ESSERS grant, which is part of the CARES Act. We were awarded 3 positions in those grants. And so one is a 18-month position. It's a director position under the Family Resource Center. So I want to introduce to you all Katie Morales. Are you on, Katie, still? Katie is the same position as Lisa and Brenda and Wiley. She will be helping to support our work and building capacity in the Family Resource Centers. I'm going to put you on the spot and have you just tell them a little bit about yourself, because we're really excited about some of her experience that she brings to the Family Resource Centers for the next 18 months.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Morales, and I'm so excited to be part of this awesome team. I have worked in human services for a very long time. I was part of the district for about 10 years, and I coordinated our Children in Transition program for about 7 of those years, working with children who are experiencing homelessness. Worked really closely with our Family Resource Centers. Then ventured outside the district for a couple of years, working on some marketing pieces, and worked for a different company, and then came back to the love of working with at-risk families. And I'm excited to kind of bring some new ideas and work closely on supporting our families. And I didn't know I was going to be on the spot. Sorry.
You did really good. I didn't prepare her at all for that. So you did fantastic. You know me, Katie and I have worked together before. So you should have expected that I was going to totally put you on the spot. But anyway, we're really glad to have Katie join our team. We also hired 2 family advocates. They're full-time positions, and they're semi-permanent depending on this grant and how long the grant lasts. Again, it's part of an ESSERS grant. There was 2 and allocated in a competitive grant. So Katie is in the allocated grant, which is 18 months. So we're hopeful that right now we can continue to look for funding so we can get her into a sustainable position, but right now it's only 18 months. Those Family Resource Centers, family advocates, they will be in the competitive grant, so that should roll over as long as we continue to get that funding. And so we have Norma Reyes and Liz Milagros Nicklin. And so they joined our team this week. Norma will be with Wiley at the Central Family Resource Center, and Liz will be with Lisa at the Sparks Family Resource Center. So we are really glad to have them. We're really excited to be able to expand our ability to reach out to clients. You will also see us as part of the State of Education address that our Superintendent, Dr. Kristen McNeil, will be doing on January 28th. I think they were able to interview a couple of our families. We were at least trying to get an interview with them. And so she may be talking a little bit about the Family Resource Centers in her State of Education address on January 28th. I believe it's at 5:30, but I might be wrong. But if you're really interested in watching it, I will look it up and let you guys know. and it will be live streamed like our Family Resource Center Advisory Council meetings are. We have social work interns that continue with us. We have 2 BSWs and 1 MSW that will continue with us and start back up again next week. And so they will continue to assist. They did a lot of work with Brenda up at Desert Skies, but they also helped out with our other centers as well. So we have 3 of those interns that are helping. And then we do have our resiliency counselors through the Nevada Resiliency Project that have been working with us. Their primary duty, and I think we've talked about this before, is supporting individuals who have been diagnosed with COVID or have had family members diagnosed with COVID, but they also are working within our family resource centers to reach out and to provide resources and support to folks. So they're another extra support for us as well. So fairly quickly, the silver lining has been we've got some extra staff to help us to respond. We also did get some funding through a foundation grant through the Giving Circle, and that Giving Circle grant, and we actually have 2, are helping us with rental assistance when that comes up. So a lot of times we're seeing people come in with really large amounts of back rent. And also behind on their power bills. And so it's allowing FRCs to help out when possible, but we're seeing some pretty large numbers coming in as people are realizing that that eviction moratorium will come to an end, and then all of this rent will be due. And so they're coming in a lot to ask for assistance. So Lisa and Wiley and Brenda and Katie have all been very, very busy and creative in trying to figure out how best to support clients when they come in to help to get assistance. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything, you guys? Okay.
I think you got it all. So, Scott, I'm not sure how long you've been at VOA. And Sherry, I did see your hand. So, but you and Katie may have overlapped there at the shelter. So when we ever get to meet in person, you guys can swap amusing parking lot stories. Katie's office was at the shelter for a while.
I actually just celebrated 3 years in November.
Nice. So yeah, so there's always interesting anecdote stories from the shelter.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that's
Sherry, go
amazing.
for it.
Amazing work, Scott. No, actually, I can't speak to it 100%, but I was watching, of course, the press conference after the whole amazingness that happened today. And so the new press secretary announced that Joe Biden, one of Joe Biden's first pieces of business was that he was going to, or he did say that have a protection piece in for landlord evictions. And that, I mean, did you guys hear that? Because I don't remember exactly what the wording was, but it sounded to me as if basically there's a moratorium on evictions. Did anybody else hear that today?
Yes, yeah, you heard correctly. The canary in the coal mine that is me. The issue with that is that it delays the evictions, but it doesn't delay rent occurring.
Oh.
So the problem with that is that if you get 1 or 2 months behind, that's one thing. But some of our families are now coming to us and they owe maybe $6,000 or $7,000 in rent. And there is just, I mean, when it's $1,000 or $900 or even, we gulp and we ask for $1,800. That's one thing, but $6,000 is, yeah. So it just kind of, it kicks the can down the road. So, and again, landlords also, that's some of them, that's their bread and butter as well. It will be interesting to see how this works out. Yeah.
I think also currently it has to be, so to be able to defer your rent or to get assistance, you also have to prove that it's related to COVID. And so that can be a struggle for folks as well. So there's some hopefully things will start to get a little bit easier, but there's some tough, you know, loopholes that people have to kind of jump through right now.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I did have one question, Rochelle.
Yeah.
Where will Katie be housed? Where is her office?
Her office is at the
Is it
Sparks
home
Family
right now?
her office is at the Sparks Family Resource Center. However, she will be supporting all 3 centers to allow Lisa and Brenda and Wiley to do some other work to build some capacity out there. And so they have some goals and things that they would like to accomplish. And then we are also hoping that we could utilize her marketing skills as well in getting the word out about Family Resource Centers. So she'll be primarily at the Sparks Family Resource Center.
Thank you. And welcome, Katie.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to item 2.04, which is the presentation and discussion of current Family Resource Center grants received and funding status. For information and discussion only. Since I asked for this item, I will kick it over to Lisa so that we can start the conversation and see where it goes. I can't hear
Sorry,
you.
I
There
was
you go.
having, oh, okay, yeah, I was having a hard time unmuting. So I think a lot of this Rochelle covered in the previous item. Just to add to that, we have been informed recently, grant season is coming up in the spring. So we'll be writing again for 3 of our grants, which will be the Title IV-B grant, which we were actually awarded 2 grants within that funding source last year, family support and family preservation. So we'll be writing for those again. And then the parenting grants will also be up for renewal. So that'll be the Title 20 grant and the, Brenda, you need to help me on the CB cap. So we will be working on those probably starting next month. And just to kind of echo what Rochelle said, you know, kind of the silver lining with the pandemic is that we have gotten increased funds for increased staff, which we desperately needed. Of course, the volume is going through the roof, so we're kind of breaking even, but we are very fortunate that we have the additional staff right now.
Awesome, and I think it's fair to answer the why I asked about this. I think as we are getting deeper into this pandemic, I know we've had conversation about funding sources. I think at every meeting, at every time we come together, we talk about resources and how we can increase our resources. Rochelle, I know I've asked in the past, but how often do you or anybody go before the Board of Trustees and report on Family Resource Centers?
Probably about once a year, unless I'm asked to go more often. I will be presenting on I think it's the 26th, briefly on what Family Resource Centers have been doing in response to the pandemic. So I'm 2 slides. I'm part of a really large presentation, but I will briefly be talking about Family Resource Centers during that time. So about once a year, I get an opportunity to go in front of them to talk about some of the work, but it's also lumped in with the rest of my department too. So it's not a standalone presentation.
And I don't know what the proper chain is to request to go speak to the Board of Trustees. Maybe I can email them individually or as a group and say, hey, we're struggling. We don't want to be put in a position to close another Family Resource Center because of funding. So that it's on their radar. I just think if it's a constant reminder that we went from 10 Family Resource Centers to now we're having 3 that are open. I just think it's putting the bug in the ear, and now more than ever, like we have the ability to touch more lives if we had more resources.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the school board is the proper channel. I know that we have talked about outside funding resources, but I just think the more we talk about the why we do what we do and get it in front of more people. They may say, oh, go talk to so-and-so, or go here, go there. I just think now is probably our best time to get in front of them.
Yeah. Well, and Scott, I think this is a timely subject because our legislature starts the legislative session starts February 1st, I think it is, or 2nd. And it will be some really, really important conversations. And so I think that all of us can keep an eye when anything from Department of Health and Human Services comes up, and Robert Whitley discusses his budget. And if we look at, and I haven't had a chance to look at the governor's budget, what that looks like and how that could potentially impact things as well. That funding will in particularly be part of our largest grant, our Family Resource Center grant, the Funds for Healthy Nevada. And that's the grant that funds most of the positions in our FRC. So if we see cuts, that's where it's going to be really tough for us. And so if we all keep an eye on when conversations come up around that funding, and if we want to have an opportunity to go speak, then I think that would be a great thing. So.
Yeah, and I'll throw it out there. If you guys that are at the district see something, that I will go down to Carson and lobby for it. I mean, family resource centers can't have enough voices. I think especially the 3 that we have in our district, we need to make people aware that we're here and we need some money. Like, in order to keep operations open, we need, I mean, we're seeing, like Brenda said, we're seeing $6,000 in back rent. That, not that we are this end all be all one-stop shop, but if there were funding, we could help everybody. And I think that's my takeaway is I want to be able to help everybody. How do we turn every no into a yes? And I think it comes down to funding. So that's what I asked for, because I wanted to see where we were at. And I think over the past year, we regained a champion in Sheila Leslie. And so I'm willing to have some conversation with her. I just want to pick her brain and see if there's something that we can do different or we can do better. So I have reached out to her, and she said that she will give me a call at some point, but I just want to let it be known that we need more money. And who do you guys think are the best people that we talk to?
Scott, the timeliness of this is really important as well. A year ago is when our conversations started with Sheila about the statewide FRC sustainability program, and we didn't even know there was going to be a pandemic. And so that report is now, it's bound, it's ready, the state has it. And I do have faith that when the legislature starts, Sheila will be there passing out that report as, like hotcakes if she needs to. So again, the timing we couldn't have planned it better. Right. And when we started that sustainability report, we didn't even know, certainly there was a pandemic coming. So yeah, there'll be cuts in the governor's budgets, but hopefully through that report, we're poised to say, but not us, because we're helping this number of many families.
With that
said,
sure. Yeah, I was going to say, this is Sherry Alcano. So do you think, okay, so this is an important conversation, everything that everybody's saying. And so Scott, do you think it'd be helpful if, like, say you and I got together, or whomever, it doesn't matter who, but, and then kind of brainstormed and put together a succinct kind of presentation or what have you list. I know Sheila as well, from past, college, etc. But yeah, and then making an appointment with her to meet with her and do like a little like a conversation. You don't have to do a presentation necessarily with Leslie, but it would be, or Sheila, but it would be good to have that all the ducks in the row, and then talk about what we could do to help out in Carson City if there needs to be conversation from the FRC. I mean, I don't know. I'm with you, Scott. It'd be nice to know how to actually do something to help.
Right. I'm hesitant to say yes, that you and I can meet with her just because of quorum.
Yeah.
and we're meeting outside of the committee together, reflecting our individual opinions and thoughts,
That's true.
which would be reflective of the committee. But I don't think it's beneath us to reach out to her individually, because then they can't say quorum. We're abiding by open meeting laws.
Okay.
And the avenue that I would take is, I mean, we're one voice on a committee to make a decision. So if there's something that needs to be brought back, then you can certainly let me know and I can work with Lisa, or you can let Lisa know and we can work on putting it on our agenda if it needs to be a voted on item. But I'm just weary of you and I meeting together. I don't know what our bylaws say, if the chair and the
You're
vice
right.
chair can meet. That's my only hesitation. It's a great idea, and I think we're powerful in numbers, but because we're bound by open meeting laws, like our numbers have to be
Right.
strategically placed.
Mhm.
Did I say that right, Lisa?
You did. She's trying to unmute. You did. You are correct, Scott.
Okay. And Sherry, I don't want you to think your intentions are wrong. We just have to do it the right way so that we aren't
Oh, no,
subjected to the Attorney General.
I wasn't thinking, Annie, you're so right. And it has to be that way. It is my natural inclination to work together with someone. I feel like you get more energy that way, but yes, it totally makes sense. And so I'm okay with reaching out to Sheila on my own.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion that we have on item 2.04? All right, we will move into item 2.05, which is always my favorite item, the presentation and discussion on Family Resource Center's year-to-date data on the numbers and clients served, outreach events conducted by staff, including information on future community events and volunteer opportunities for council members. Since he's been quiet most of our meeting, I'm gonna toss the ball over to Wiley.
All right, I'll cover the year-to-date. Lisa, if you want to cover the activities, does that work? Perfect. So hopefully you guys got the packet, or you're able to pull it up and see the FRC numbers served. So you guys can see these are the families, the individuals and children we've served so far. That goes from July 1 to September 30th, and then from October 1st to December 31st. You guys can see there's been a little bit of a jump with the numbers. I think we're all kind of in overhaul mode, trying to do as much as we can. Our phones ring off the hook, and we're trying to do as much as we have with the staff that we have. So you can see some of that has bumped up. Utility assistance has still been really big. We process lots of safes, lots of EAP applications quite frequently. Emergency housing assistance, if you look there, it went down a little bit, but that's because of the housing assistance that was provided through the CARES Act, through the CHAP program, through Housing Authority. So we were referring a lot of our families through that program to try to get some assistance there. So we weren't helping through our agency as much unless they weren't able to qualify for that program. So you guys can see some of that. I'm hoping that these numbers will just continue to increase with the addition of Katie and the addition of the 2 new family advocates. I'm hoping that these numbers will bump up just a little bit more with the volume of calls that we're having and the families that need the assistance. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. If not, I'll turn it over to Lisa.
So
I have
just
one
a note,
question.
the numbers as far as the housing assistance or rental assistance, those numbers are with an eviction moratorium in place. So nobody's really been able to be evicted, and yet we're still paying rent.
Thank you for that, Brenda. My one question is, down at the bottom it has referrals. What do referrals look like coming from the Family Resource Center?
So any time that there's a referral in our database, it's categorized as a quick referral. So if we're on the phone with somebody and we're not able to provide that resource through our center, then they get a referral to another agency or another place that they can get the assistance, then that's what counts as a referral. So as you see, the number of families we served and the number of referrals is a little bit is higher, because some families, if we give them a referral to the Reno Housing Authority and then to Community Services Agency and some other places, they might get it, multiple referrals. So that's why that number's high down there. But that's what referrals look like for us.
So, and other examples of referrals might be, like Wiley said, multiple referrals. So we're going to give them a referral to the SNAP outreach worker and the local food pantries and the diaper bank, and they need birth certificates and they need immunizations. So those would all each individually count as a referral, and that's one family. And that's just an example of some of the referrals that we might get. They could be more intense. It could be legal services, immigration status. It could be domestic violence shelters. So those are just some of the examples.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Just to add a little bit on that too, if there's anything that you guys see that you want me to incorporate, I can also add that to our list, or take some things away, whatever you guys, whatever's pertinent, whatever information you guys want to see. And I'm hoping, Katie, with her onboarding, we're working on doing a new phone system that will allow us to track some data with the number of phone calls that are coming in, and get us some cool data with that as well. So I'm hoping to present, once we get everybody on board and have all the centers, you guys some data on the volume of phone calls that we're getting, and what those phone calls are looking like, so you guys have a better picture of the phones, what the community needs and the calls that we're getting. So just a preview of what that might come down the road. So
a question that I have, and Brenda brought it up, immigration birth certificates, where are those classified? Are those things that we are able to help with at the Family Resource Centers, or are those referrals that we send out?
Most of the time we are referring out for those. We do work with like the health district, and we can work with some of those. And if they need, they can't pay the fees, we do have some funds that we can try to help them out with those funds. But most of the time we refer out for some of that stuff, like IDs and all that kind of that different stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Wiley.
Yep.
Should we move on to events?
Of course. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. So our list is a little shorter than you might have seen it at non-pandemic times, but we're still plugging away and doing what we can. So I think everybody is aware of our Thanksgiving assistance that we offered in collaboration with the LDS Church. That's always a really big deal. A lot of work, a lot of time goes into coordinating that with all of our schools, but it is well worth it. So that is just a really wonderful event. For Sparks Northeast, Northwest, we served over 400, and I think that for Sun Valley and North Valleys, it was really close to that. Brenda, I don't know if you want to chime in on that.
I think we did 386. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was just great. And then there was also an opportunity to partner with the food bank this year. You might have seen that, I think I sent something out, that they were also distributing meals for Christmas. And one of the sites was out at Desert Skies. So Brenda was able to participate in that, which I think brought in over 500 families. And there continues to be a lot of food support out at Sun Valley, given that the area is a bit of a food desert. So thankfully we have the Family Resource Center there bringing food in from the food bank and being able to distribute it to families. So that is a weekly occurrence, as well as the mobile harvest coming out to Sun Valley. So a lot around food, which is obviously a really big issue for people these days. We did attend the Nevada Housing Coalition webinar, I think that was last month, or might have been earlier this month. And then jumping down to upcoming events, there's kind of a part 2 of that coming up actually tomorrow, if anybody wanted to register for that, where they're going to be giving a preview of bills that are going to be coming up related to housing. So that should be pretty informative. Wiley attended the Cannabis Health Summit. And we also participated in the Family Stability monthly meetings in partnership with the Food Bank and several other agencies. So still doing what we can in times of the pandemic. If anybody becomes aware of any events coming up or anything that we should be aware of, please do pass that along, and we will continue to do the same.
Thank you, Lisa. Sadly, I'm saddened to see the list getting smaller, but I appreciate the work that you guys are doing and your attempts to make the world a better place. I don't know how else to say that. I do have a question. I know because I sit on the Safe and Healthy Schools Commission, mental health has come up a lot in our discussions. Within the Family Resource Centers, are there any events that you guys have attended in the past, plan on attending for if somebody comes in crisis into one of the centers, and are we equipped to handle that? Or is it more of a, I think Brenda and I have talked openly in these meetings, I think it's more of a, let's get the most team involved, those sorts of things? Or is it more of a, I don't know, are you guys seeing an increased crisis situation for parents coming in saying, I can't do this anymore?
Personally, I don't know that I'm really seeing a lot more people presenting as such, but certainly the stress level is definitely there and definitely becoming more prevalent. It's fortunate that we do have the partnership with the Resilience Ambassadors, because that is something that they kind of dial in on as far as assessing for mental health and offering referrals. So we kind of have our usual go-tos, that we can use for people in crisis, but it is nice to be able to have that connection with the ambassadors as well.
Awesome. Thank you
In
for sharing.
Sun Valley, we partner. Go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say I forgot about the ambassadors, so I appreciate that reminder.
So, and we use the ambassadors all the time because that's their job, is to refer out resources for folks that have COVID, but of course they're overlapping issues. And then at Desert Skies, we have a partnership with the Thrive Center, which is at UNR, but it's psychological services. And we have an on-site counselor that's there at Desert Skies that we're able to refer to. And then the city of Reno actually got talk space for counseling. So I've got some little flyers for that I've been handing out.
Perfect. And I'm glad to see other government agencies are seeing the need for mental health. It's really, we have to protect what we can, and mental health is one of those things that we can protect if we have the right resources in place. All right. Is there any other? I'll open it up for discussion to my colleagues here, if you have anything.
I have a question, Vanessa, for the record. After the holidays, I had a few friends ask how they can volunteer or give to the Family Resource Center on an ongoing basis. And I know that this is something we often ask on here, and certainly don't want to create any extra help. And I think also just because there are no upcoming events in which we can contribute, but just want to ask if there is anything currently, especially seeing the numbers continuing to either remain the same or increase, and knowing that you have growing capacity with thankfully a growing staff. Just want to keep asking, what more can we do when people do ask us? What is the best way to funnel that without, again, creating work for your team?
Anybody want to grab that one?
You do.
So I do. Kick me. So, so always, a donated drop off of $5 gift cards is always welcome. Those can always go out. A roll of quarters. Again, laundry is a big thing, especially families do want to keep their houses clean. We're grant funded, so we cannot go to our grants department and ask for quarters. It's just weird. We've got some funding for like laundry pods, but quarters is always great. And then I will be, Lisa's the best at the whole BCC thing, but I will be letting you know about events in April for Child Abuse Prevention Month. And again, the word of the decade, I think, is going to be pivot. So in the past, we've been able to plant pinwheel gardens, and each pinwheel is supposed to signify, a carefree childhood. That will be done more virtually and online. And so I'll be getting a pinwheel, like a virtual kit. And a lot of that will be turning to social media. So there'll be like hashtags that you can use. There'll be an approved email tag that says something about pinwheels with a little picture of the blue pinwheel. So that will be in April, but it's something that just draws awareness to Child Abuse Prevention Month.
On the gift cards, Brenda, can you say that again? I was just taking notes. You said $5 gift cards.
Yeah, so I mean, we've got funding to go out and buy supplies, but I recognize that you guys are so generous, and it's I would love to be able to give a gift card for a gallon of milk. We used to have TFAP funding, and that ended December 31st, so we no longer have access to milk. I like to be able to give a gift card for a gallon of milk. I mean, it just seems so important. But it's not, I don't really I'm not going to send Katie. I love Katie to go to Walmart. I mean, yeah, and get those gift cards for us, but you can't stand in line and get, $100 of $5 gift cards. It will make you crazy. So, but, for instance, I met your friend through the Angel Tree, and she was so lovely and also asked what she could do. And so something like being able to give a $5 gift card with a box of food to say, go buy a gallon of milk. So is wonderful.
In terms of pressing needs, I mean, food continues to be a pressing need for families. And then housing stability, I'm not sure how we could aid in that, but the basic needs, right?
Basic needs. So, and then, yeah, utility assistance. And it's kind of the same, like I spoke about with the rent. NV Energy also had a disconnection moratorium, which now we're realizing unfortunately caused more problems than it solved, because families were not disconnected and so didn't pay a bill in March and April and May and June and July. And so now those bills are $1,000 or $1,200. So we have blown through our emergency utility assistant budget. We blew through it. So I think our budget was last year we did 380. We're close approaching $450,000. And that again is because now that they are doing evictions, in the past, somebody might qualify for $286.33. Now almost everyone is $400, $400, $400, which is the max that we can give, but it certainly adds up quicker. Wiley and Lisa, are you seeing that as well? I don't even think we've talked about that in our meetings.
Definitely. The 600, 700, 500 power bills. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. We've just been trying to work. We do have some people that come and drop off every once in a while. They'll do some hygiene kits, and they'll put them all together, and they'll come drop them off for us, or some food boxes. So, because I know a lot of families, the amenities and the basic needs that they need, they're focusing on the rent and utilities and all the rest of the stuff that they need to provide for their families. So we're just trying to make even transportation, bus passes, anything like that we can give out to them. We're trying to do the best with that as well. So.
No, this is Sherry Alcano for the record. As you all were speaking, I just went online real fast to look up buying bulk gift cards from Walmart, and they have it set up. You can do that, and you can enter in that you're doing it for a whatever, business or something like that. So I didn't spend a lot of time, but I saw you could do it. So I'm assuming that that is something you could do possibly with other, besides Walmart. I chose Walmart because, Walmart. But maybe the, the transit system or what have you, it's possible we can get, if there's people who want to donate a bulk amount of gift cards, like if your friends, Vanessa, they want to be able to donate $100 a piece, right? So they can just go on to Walmart and buy $100 worth of $5 gift cards or what have you. I did it for myself too, because I have friends who ask me the same thing, Vanessa, and I've never been quite sure how to help them out with how to donate. So it was good to hear what would be helpful,
Thank you all for asking about that too. We really appreciate that and your support. Thank you.
A question I have for you, Lisa, is are the family resource centers, are they still by appointment only, or can somebody walk up and receive assistance at that time? You're on mute. I can't hear you.
Thank you. We're trying to still limit clients coming into the office, especially like for lengthy amounts of time. So we are continuing to serve them primarily by phone and email, which is working well. I mean, it's what we have right now, so we're making it work. And I think that it is working. Is it ideal? No, but I think we are making it work. And so we are scheduling, phone appointments. So we've got that time blocked out and we're ready to spend the time with the client to go through the whole intake and assessment and address their needs and provide whatever services we can. So that's basically, the main way that we are serving clients right now, as well as email too. For them to be sending us documents and things like that. And then people will come in to, pick up a food box or a gift card or bus pass or exchange documents if they don't have the capacity to do it electronically. We're just limiting, the full-blown come in for the assessment, and it's, a lot of people in and out for lengthy periods of time.
And what hours are people, or what hours is the staff in the center? Is it the same hours as before?
I think, yeah. So I think that we're all there in some configuration of like 8 to 4:30, but we will always accommodate working people. We will never not see somebody because of, work or whatever they have going on.
I was just asking if I were to have somebody that wanted to donate something, like, can they just walk up and say, here's my $100 gift cards for you guys?
It's probably best to arrange it ahead of time because we are, kind of out and about as well. So just to arrange it to make sure that somebody is there and they're not going to have a wasted trip.
Okay.
Or if they needed us to pick up or whatever, would be convenient for them.
So, and I'm sure you're not shocked, but Desert Skies looks a little different. So we, 4 days out of the week, we look pretty much by appointment only. Thursdays is our food pantry, and my ladies and we could be old-fashioned sock hops because we have the cars lining up outside in the parking spots, and we're going car to car. So we should be wearing roller skates, I think. It's been pleasant enough with the weather. We haven't been in driving snowstorms because we live in, Nevada high desert. But we will stand outside with our clipboards next to a car door. Everybody's masked. And so we're standing outside. The clients still aren't coming into the office except on a few occasions as far as like food stamps, like they're a new food stamp appointment. But we have still on Thursdays between 30 and 50 cars in our parking lot, one at a time, that we're serving. And it always, it's not just handing them a food box. the first week it's handing them a food box. The second week they'll might say something else. And by the third or fourth week, it's what else can we get here? And so it opens up the conversation, which is what we want, about deeper needs. And we know that that's how it works. We have to build that trust first. So also through that, Thursdays is our food distribution day. And so that's often when other staff from Rochelle's department, the intervention department. So I have the truancy officers or the re-engagement specialists coming and picking up food boxes as well, also on Thursdays. And they'll often bring a family in on that day. So it's a busy one. So, but it makes it feel almost normal, whatever that might look like.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. If there is no other discussion, we can move on to item 2.06, which is information and discussion on the proposed meeting calendar for 2020 to 2021 school year. And this is for information and discussion only.
Believe it or not, there's one more meeting this year, and it's April 21st.
We did want to check to see, does this day and time still work for you all? We will continue to meet by Zoom until we're able to meet in person, and hope to give you guys all a hug when we see you in person.
You guys get the vaccine because of the work that you do?
Yeah, in fact, our entire district, the staff, we're grouped into groups. So we're all in different groups. But I actually think that most of the Family Resource Center folks have already been offered the vaccine. And so they've had that opportunity if they choose to do that. And I think that there is a goal of all district staff being offered the vaccine by the end of February.
Right. Yeah, that's good to hear. I knew the teachers had, and I knew that they were working on all of these. There's so many levels and tiers. And
yeah, I think there's like 10 groups depending on who you interact with and how often and all of that
you guys
stuff.
are on the front lines. I mean, for sure. So I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Okay, so will that date work for everybody? We're good? And
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Wednesdays work. And the time I think is appropriate if everybody else is in agreement.
I'm fine.
I'm good with that.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Sherry. I see Vanessa nodding her head in agreement as well.
Yes, that time is great.
Oh,
This is Riley.
Oh, look at that kitty.
Riley says, I'm in.
It says, I vote yes for everything.
Yes. Riley.
Our closing item is closing public comment. I just wanted to open it up to the public as they're invited at this time to discuss topics not specifically addressed anywhere on the agenda.
there were no public comment that was sent to me in time for this meeting. So
thank you so much. Is there any public comment from the committee members? Awesome. Item 3.02 is our next meeting announcement, and that is, as we just discussed, it's April 21st via Zoom at 6 p.m. Maybe the governor's directives will provide something different and we can meet in person, but if not, Zoom is always a good fashion. I enjoy seeing all of you guys. And with that, we can adjourn our meeting.